Hi, welcome to the Broke Girl Society. I'm Christina, your host. Thank you so much for listening in. So, I had to do a new intro because for this episode, we turned the cameras on. So, we're actually on video, which you can still hear us through Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to us from. But you can also see us on YouTube, or if your podcast app has visual, you'll be able to see us. So, and by us, I am joined by Terra, Linda, and Kitty for this episode. And what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about our experience a couple weeks ago at the National Conference on Problem Gambling. So this is the national conference where everybody from all over the states come, and even quite a few people who came over from different countries to come to this conference. And we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the experiences that we loved and the experiences that we were kind of baffled on, and kind of what it's like to do this work on the other side of the space, right? Instead of being in the recovery rooms, we were on the advocacy side and learning and kind of seeing what's happening in the space and talking with all kinds of people who work in the space. It's not just people with recovery, not just clinicians, there's researchers, there's all kinds of people who are doing a lot of wonderful things in the space. There's preventionists, there's first responders. So it's really just a mix of people at these conferences, all trying to learn, all trying to, help everyone in the space. So that's the fun part. Now, just a reminder that what we're going to be saying is our experiences and our opinions. And so certainly we're not speaking on behalf of anybody, any organization we may be tied to, anything like that. These are just us chatting about kind of what it was like, what our expectations were, and kind of the overall vibe. So hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you get maybe inspired to do a little something on the service or advocacy side. But I always think it's fun to kind of dig in and learn a little bit of the other side of how things are going. So all that said and done, let's give a shout out to our sponsors and then go right into this episode. So first up, we have the Better Institute, where people go to get better. They have an amazing team of clinicians who are certified in gambling disorder, gambling treatment, and they are genuinely there to help you. They're amazing. You can find out more information about their treatment options at betterinstitute.com. And then we are sponsored. It's kind of a team sponsor between eVive and the eVive Foundation. And the eVive Foundation is really working to uplift those people working in the space who have lived experience or in recovery. And so they're kind of partnering up with eVive to sponsor the podcast. And eVive is an amazing app that helps you better understand your relationship with gambling. You can find all kinds of amazing lessons in there if you want to learn more about what's going on with your relationship with gambling. They have an amazing community that is growing by the day. You can actually access the Broke Girl Society Facebook meetings or Zoom meetings in the eVive community. So that's a way that we could bridge it, because there's a lot of people that just don't have Facebook anymore. And on the other side of that, we have a huge Facebook community of women who are in all stages of recovery. We also, host the meetings there as well. So we currently have 5 meetings a week that are women specific, topic specific. So lots of exciting things happening. So I'll quit chatting in your ear, but to find out more information about eVive, visit getevive.com and find out more information, or you can download it in your app store. All right, so let's get on into this episode. Thanks, y'all. Take 547. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Broke Girl Society podcast. I'm your host, Christina. Thank you so much for listening in. And for today's episode, we have 3 lovely guests. And what I guess our hope is for this episode is to recap our recent experience at the National Conference on Problem Gambling, which was held in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a fantastic town, by the way. So joining me to recap the experience and to talk about it, we've got the wonderful Kitty Martz, and we have the ever lovely Linda F. And of course, my partner in crime and a lot of things on this podcast, the amazing Terra.
Hey, everybody.
All right. Nashville, NCPG. Who wants to go first? What surprised you most about the conference, Linda?
The
Since you're a
Not
newbie.
surprised. Well, so here's, I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I was really, I I always say like something like you think of best possible scenario and worst possible scenario, and it's not going to be either. It's just going to be different. And it was that. So some things that stood out were how amazing we are. The lived experience people had each other. We were attending each other's things. We had each other's back. Um we showed up with like a lot of grace, I think. We really behaved well, I think, at this conference. I was proud of our people. I don't know, that meant a lot to me to see just how far folks have come on their journey and what they were able to deliver in being a part of things there. Made me really happy.
I love that. What about you, Tara?
Oh, I said the temperature, like the temperature shocked me a little
Oh
bit.
my goodness, yeah.
It was cold.
Redness.
It was so cold. The conference area.
Oh,
I'll echo what Kitty said. The last one I went to was Boston, so it's been some years for me, right? So to see some of the people with lived experience and how much they've grown in their presenting as well as in their recovery and their ability to just speak very candidly about recovery. I go to conferences a lot of times completely out of the context of recovery. And so something that I was journaling about was how different it is to go to a conference where there's a lot of people there who are in recovery or in the field of mental health and well-being. And when you ask, hey, how are you? You get real answers. So it surprised me how deeply I was able to make connections quickly with people. I like to connect deeply. I'm not a big small talk person. And yet I found myself a little like, whoa, we're really talking about how we're doing, because that is a loaded question that we so often ask. And I'm very used to getting, oh, I'm good. How are you? Right. And it was a lot more real and raw. Like, hey, life's doing its thing. I got this going on. I got that going on, and I'm managing. And here's how I'm coping. What about you? And there was just a lot of vulnerability. And I found that kind of surprising.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you have a 5 year kind of span in there. Has it been 5 years? Yeah, Boston was 5 years ago.
I think it might have been 22.
Four.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah, so I guess five conferences 4 years ago. Boston was my very first one as well, and I just remember it felt very different, right? Because we went to Boston, then we went to DC, San Diego, Columbus, and then this year was Nashville. So I've been to all those. And
now we're going to Chicago.
Chicago next. But yeah, that was, kind of having that span. And did you feel like there was a different presence with lived experience than from that previous conference?
Yeah, with the 4 year gap, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Much.
I mean, look at the difference with baby Linda. Last year was your first year. You were scared. I don't think you'd ever been to an in-person meeting, had you? And now
And
she's like Little Miss Boundaries. Like, here's what's up. Like, she is so confident and together.
You're giving me so much more credit than I deserve.
She's putting in for, I think we need to like rally to get her on a talk next year.
Yeah, she really has worked hard. Yeah.
She's worked really hard to get from being called a crybaby by Kitty
to baby Linda now. She's still my baby.
That might have been my favorite part of Ohio, was being called crybaby by Kitty.
Right.
And that's one thing I'm thinking about is like emotional regulation. Like, we're all tired here now. Are you okay? Are we doing good? Like, is well-being, is it good to show our emotions? Do we have to stay within that band of emotionally self-regulating, or should we show our feelings? And I know I wrestle with that kind of stuff. There was a lot
I think
of
it
that.
both. I think it just depends on how it happened. Like, I think the emotions are heightened because you're around people who truly understand, and that can be emotional. Like when you're connecting with people who truly understand how you're feeling, truly understand the hard work of recovery, and meeting people that you see all the time and being able to connect. It's just a heightened sense of emotion, at least it is for me. Just being around all these amazing people that I care about, who care about this work, who care about each other. And it's for me, so it's just a heightened, we're all so passionate about it. So I think for me, it's always going to be kind of a back and forth balance of some moments are just going to be tremendously emotional and others you're going to be able to temper it and navigate it. But so Linda, how are you feeling about these conferences? This being your second and kind of as you're getting more into the space and seeing more things.
Yeah. Well, as you guys were talking, I was thinking last year I really was highly emotional. And kind of spoke about it in one of the first recovery meetings I went to, and Brian was hosting that meeting. And I've always struggled just a little bit about with some of the presenters, like meant for the clinicians. Not all of them, but a lot of them I just feel like are kind of missing the mark. And I think that's hard for me because I think this is who's training the clinicians who are supposed to help us. And my first experience with therapy wasn't good. So I was just struggling with that last year a little bit. And I shared that in the meeting. And Brian just nailed it, because he said, I was just last year, it was right around my first year anniversary in recovery. And he said, could it be that you're pretty close to a time that nearly destroyed you, that took a real toll, and that makes you a little bit more emotional and you take things a little more personally. And those might not have been his exact words. I'm sure he didn't impose any of that on me, but that's exactly what was happening for me last year. I was taking so many things really personally, and just emotions were a lot bigger. The same thing this year, emotions were still pretty big. Meeting people for the first time, I'm finding like this recovery community is kind of small. I met people this time that I'd only seen in Zoom meetings. And it's funny because you feel like you know them already, but then you meet them in person. For me, some of the biggest things are like I'm with Terra, the connection for me, having that connection with people with lived experience is just huge.
Yep.
And I know Kitty will vary with me on this one, but I don't have in-person meetings near me. So I really do try to hit the in-person meetings at the conference. And for me, there's no feeling like standing in a room with 20 people with the same experience or lived experience and holding hands to say the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling beyond for me it's a highlight.
Can I pull on a thread with you a little bit? And if you feel uncomfortable, I'll edit this.
Sure.
But I remember last year, and we had started this kind of movement with the Lived Experience Collective, where we had started the Lived Experience lanyards. And I remember that was something that you were struggling with last year because, like, I remember you telling me you didn't want to be highlighted as a person with lived experience. How are you feeling now? I mean, do you feel comfortable talking about that and kind of how you're feeling now and how you see it now?
Kitty and I kind of talked about this a little bit in a meeting, and I was surprised. It was hard for me to wear that yellow lived experience lanyard. And then along with it came a pin that said, ask me anything. Oddly enough, I liked the pin because I want to use my experience as help for anybody who wants to know more about it. And I kind of view me being in a room with a room of clinicians I'm a wealth of knowledge. You just have to ask me. And I'm so willing to talk about it. What I had a hard time with, and this is just my own thing, to walk into a room. I think they said this year there's 700 people, and I'm assuming there was that many last year. To wear a lived experience lanyard, it was hard because I felt like that ended conversations for me, that people all of a sudden saw it and didn't know like what to say to me. Maybe that was my own experience. I don't know. I had told Kitty when she first came in and brought them into the recovery meeting, and it was funny because she walked in like a hurricane and had like, I don't know, 2,000 of them in her purse and just started pulling them out like a clown car in the middle of the room and just said, you know, that's what these signify. And if you wouldn't mind wearing one, it would make me feel a lot less alone. And I knew that regardless of how I felt about it, I was going to wear it because I didn't want Kitty to ever feel alone.
Oh, maybe
Aw.
Linda.
That's just,
I mean, that's like the beautiful thing about being in a recovery community. Like, none of us want anyone in this community to feel like they are alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even though you were uncomfortable, you did it anyway because you wanted to support the person you're in recovery with and knew that it was really important to them to have a lived experience companion or companions, as well as, I'm inferring here, but I'm thinking I'm right, to show the rest of the conference like there's a lot of lived experience here.
yeah, exactly. And it turned out, I mean, I did it for Kitty, but in the end, it was good for me.
Yeah.
It was really, it put me in a, you know, out of my own comfort zone. So wearing that put me in places that I had to react differently. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm interesting, and I don't know where we want to go with this. I know we're always going to be respectful. But like, so this year on NCPG took over the, you know, the lanyard holders for the thing. And this year they were like a purplish blue and it just says in recovery. Now, I don't know why I had feelings about it. I had a little bit of feelings about maybe the like lived experience. I don't know. And this is like potato kind of thing. Like lived experience to me just represents so much more than a person in recovery. Like we've got lived experience and a lot of life, right? But for some reason in recovery, that felt more like this is a person in recovery, and it just kind of felt like more of a separation versus I don't know. And I don't know why I got hung up on that kind of thing, but you know, does anyone want to go there?
I'll
a
just
respectful
name
way?
something I heard somebody in recovery say that they really dislike the phrase lived experience because they think it diminishes the power of recovery itself. And like lived experience could mean so many different things. And if we want to be explicit, we could be saying like in recovery from gambling disorder. Like there were people in recovery from other things with an in recovery lanyard that I later learned like they didn't have an experience with a gambling disorder, gambling addiction. I'll call myself a gambling addict any day, but don't you dare.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. But I think it's an interest, like this is one of the things that I struggle with about the treatment industry sometimes is like, do we really need to argue about what words we're using? And like, can we just all agree, like for this thing, we're saying this. That being said, I don't like when people at me. So I guess if I had to think about somebody reading that towards me, like, oh, you're someone with lived experience or you're someone in recovery, I don't think I would be offended by either phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
I appreciate that thought.
like
Kitty's being really quiet. She's like,
gambling
trying to
disorder,
decide.
gambling addict. Like I'll call myself
Yeah,
an addict, but I don't want a clinician to call me one.
Oh no, just even the word treatment. Like what am I like creosote on wood for horses? Like, you treat me. But so here's where I am. I am grateful that we, the lived experience folks, did not have to shoulder the expense and bandwidth to print them that NCPG did. I am assuming good intentions. And though that was not at all what we asked for and agreed upon would happen, I'm wondering if it's possible that there's reasons, kind of like we do in cognitive behavioral therapy, where you kind of dispute unhelpful thoughts. Because it's easy for me to immediately go, they're they're doing that to us, that makes us uncomfortable and blah blah blah. And there was a lot happening. There was new staff, there's new board, there were people that couldn't be there that were involved in handling things like that on staff. And I wish them and their families well first,
Sure.
just you know, being safe and good and free from harm. And so all that stands and being glad they were there and that they did it for us. I even wonder if we're trying to differentiate between people that are affected others and people with gambling harm, because that's another differentiation I make is I don't really like us all kind of glumped into one, I don't know, big pot. A lot of us are also affected others. Practically everyone there is an affected other that cares deeply about someone. So to have something that identifies us that we can choose and also we can choose the word felt pretty important. And it was definitely a step in the right direction. And we want to praise partial success or approximations of getting it right and assume the good intent. There's this thing called the bike shed theory where you're building a nuclear power plant and the committee spends all its time talking about how to paint the bike shed out front and they never get to the nuclear power plant. And so someone just mentioned, I'm trying not to take things personally because it's hard for me. I do take it personally. And I did a lot of that I don't know why this is labeling me something I didn't ask for, but I appreciate the effort and let's talk about the real issues. And that was especially present, if you don't mind my calling it out, is that the National Council just accepted funding from a prediction market that they're calling financial services membership category, Kalshi. And Kalshi is being sued in like 35 states or more for illegal practices. They don't consider themselves gambling. They didn't come to the conference. I can't blame them because there was a lot of people there really up at arms about this partnership and it's dividing us. And that made me really sad that it seemed like a distraction from the work because there was a lot of drama, like even some kind of poor behavior around it that I'm sad to see. People that are good people. I think we all wake up every day. As Heather Maurer, the new director, said, I wake up every morning wondering how I can best mitigate gambling harm. And anyone that says that or acts like that is okay in my book. We might not do it exactly the same, but there was a lot of that kind of going on of those undercurrents. And I think it's a testament to our years of doing the work to be able to process that and go like, nope, let's focus on what matters, our relationships, what we're learning.
Yeah. And I think going into this week, it was like because of some of the strife and things happening, I was kind of curious about how the vibe would be and, would it be the same as conferences past? And, would it, but I really think like at the core of it, this was one of the best ones that I like for me personally, like, a great city, great people. And it felt like everybody was, I don't know, just like there and for a lot of the right reasons. And so that felt really good. One thing I do want to say though is a lot of the sessions that we're talking about peer or talking about programs for peer, I noticed a lot of them didn't involve peer. Did anybody else notice that? Like there were a lot of people and we're being respectful. We're not trashing or bashing. We're just having an open conversation for anybody that might be interested in the lived experience or recovery aspect of it, peer aspect of it. But, um, you know, so I was kind of curious about that. There were a lot of clinical, on the peer side. I appreciate the avocation though, and even having those conversations. But I think it would have been a little bit more interesting had peers been more involved in those conversations.
Yeah, they weren't very interesting. And they may have been there because
They just
like
said we're trying to be respectful.
oh no. Like I mean, we ran around with places like Evive and GamFin and Gamban. Like we those folks that are building products need to show efficacy and they need to have researchers that do that for them. And it's sometimes good to have a certain degree of separation between, like Sam DeMello, who founded Evive, and the researchers that study it. You don't really necessarily want them right there together. So I could see how that happened on a couple of them. They did also really make an effort to have a track of folks with lived experience and have a lot of the meetings. They even made it so we could get credit for going to meetings. Like now I know what Gamanon looks like, and that's great for clinicians. I understand Heather Maurer, the executive director, went to several of those. They need to see that of what happens there, people that haven't been to them. And it's a good place to do it where folks that probably came here are going to be shored up enough that they'll be comfortable with an open meeting or gauging what to share in that space. That it's a mixed crowd kind of thing. So there were a lot of things like that went really well of kind of double-edged sword. Then there were 6 tracks going. So could there be a lot of attendance to these competing with other stuff like Tim Fong, a movie about a woman that I think we can watch it on Apple TV. So I competed with that one, but there was
You had standing room only still.
It was okay.
Right.
Yeah.
As she leads in with that, I was competing with that, but I was literally having to find chairs to give to people, and like people were being turned away from Kitty's presentation, and I had people come up to me and they're like, "That was an amazing presentation." I'm like, "Have you not seen Kitty present before? Like, you're absolutely an amazing presenter." And
You really are.
like, you were so worried. You were like, your crew, like, please be there, like, but I get it. I understand. Like, but you're an amazing presenter and amazing talk.
Compliment accepted. But y'all were there in the back, and you know what people were telling me? It was like, even though it was hot and chaotic and we were squished in, people were so eager to learn things and to delay their discomfort to be able to push through that. And I found I did that too. My AV didn't work. It was really hot. And I'm old, so that's especially uncomfortable. And we all got through it. That was really nice to see us not be too princessy of this has to be just perfect and just focused on the material and being there together. I was really proud of what do you think it was, about like maybe 100 people, 80? I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I kind of counted. Because in the back, I was trying to count to see how many there were, and I think there were well over 100.
Yeah, no, so it was a really small space. So I don't know, it just kind of like, again, with the different than I thought. I went away from that going, the enthusiasm. There was a lot of clinicians that are just so keen to learn about co-occurring challenges. And we've been doing that in Broke Girl, haven't we? Of just acknowledging like people are shopping, buying handbags and shoes and gaining weight and restricting and like having other things happen in our lives that we want to continue to support them in too, along with gambling. Like those kind of things come up in our meetings. Do they come up in your meetings? Or is it pretty exclusively gambling?
Oh, I think it's
Oh, I think it all comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say of any of them, like shopping seems to come up more than any other one.
I think I say food and shopping. Food and shopping as both, probably.
There was a lot of food. It was pretty activating to have sweets around and notice how you feel differently. To have like so much
I felt
food.
amazing with that. I was on a sugar high the whole time. Back on my Dr. Peppers. It was exactly what I needed as I'm navigating it with some health issues. But Tara, did anything like really, aside from how cold the hotel was throughout like I would have to go outside in the 100-degree weather just to defrost.
Yeah. I think my experience was so different than everyone else's because I was like in and out because I kept going back to the hotel room to do other work. So I was, primarily the exhibit hall, the meals, the starts of keynotes. And so I will name something that actually surprised me about my own reaction. The gambling imagery really got to me this time around.
Really?
I walked from a couple sessions because I could not, I mean, I probably could have, I didn't want to regulate through it. And I had other, like, oh, I have work I could be doing, right? So I had this convenient, like, oh, I have something else I could be doing. The other thing that I thought was interesting and a nice contrast to the experience I had in Boston, there was less elevation on the main stage of the operators.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this really felt like it was about recovery and progress and technology and behavioral health and public health and well-being and research, and less about like, what are the controls that this app has put into place? And maybe, I wasn't at every session, so maybe I missed something, but the one I went to in 22, it really felt like there was a lot of celebrating and platforming the operators on the main stage. That felt different to me this time. But again, I was not ever at every session, so I could be speaking out of turn. But what I noticed in some of the ones that I was at, there was gambling imagery, and I couldn't. I walked. And I remember really thinking, like, are they even considering us? Like that thought. And of course they are. Of course they are. Their entire mission is about the consideration of us. I don't know why it got to me this time. Maybe it was the imagery that was selected because I was a card player and there was like poker tables and blackjack tables. And maybe that's why I felt a bit more activated from it than I normally am, like if a commercial flies by on the TV. So I was so in and out. I mean, you're going to hear me talk about cold temperatures, lots of vulnerability, and karaoke. Like
karaoke was amazing, but I'm saving that to the end. I mean, that's what we're going to go out on.
But I didn't, it was like more to be there to support other people. And like, I got some really good recovery meetings in, and I connected with other people from across the country. Like I was able to attend recovery meetings, meals, a little bit of networking, and get around the exhibit hall. I will say some of the emerging technology for prevention and support, like eVive and many of the others, is blowing my mind. There's a guy from New Zealand who is doing some amazing self-exclusion work there that I would love to see come stateside. I was like, well, you'd have to contract with every single state, but let's go. Come on, launch in the US. So yeah, I think that those are my takeaways. I was not a meaningful participant. I was more of a in and out observer of some of the things, and I participated in a lot of the recovery stuff.
Yeah, I know you and I did the fast networking, whatever it was, the
speed
fast-paced
network.
Yeah, speed networking.
Yeah, that's what cool people doing.
That was the first time I did that. It was way too loud. I probably will never do that again. Like you're like, huh? Where do you work? What?
Yeah,
like that was rough. But it was still a lot of fun. Linda, anything in particular stand out for you?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to comment a little bit on what Terra talked about, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know if I'm connecting the dots wrong. In Oklahoma, Wiley Harwell talked about like graphics that they were using. Do you remember that? In like gambling harm, like, I don't know what I want to say, like advertisements, and how they had kind of determined that the more graphic and true were more effective than what they had previously done. And I think Wiley talked about, like, he had talked to some, well, I think several like old timers like Ernie Wexler, and kind of got their view on, I don't know, I'm going to say like the lived experience is how they felt about it. And kind of collectively, they thought that the more graphic was, how did they put it? Not as triggering as it was. Did they say activating? Is that, or am I using Kitty's word? I'm not sure.
Provocative? Was it meant to elicit a response to draw us in?
It was, and it was, and they had determined it was
Yeah.
way more effective when there was actual slot machines and gambling tables used, opposed to, maybe it's meant for us to look at it more directly and almost acknowledge that and know how to combat it, opposed to ignoring it and not seeing it to not be activated.
I totally see that in like a need help kind of a message.
Right. And that's where it was.
Like
that was
social
the context
media
that they
for
were talking
engagement.
about that.
Yeah.
Or like a billboard or whatever, right? Because we're drawn into the gambling ads, like draw me in to a prevention message. Cool. I just thought, like, in this forum of talking about coming together to help those who've been affected by gambling harm, like putting gambling imagery, wasn't necessary. Did I need to see a picture of
We
a card
typically
table?
Yeah.
Like, show me a graph, show me the outside. I don't know. And that was, like I said, I was just activated by it. I'm normally not. Like, that was surprising to me.
And I think too, it's like, yeah, I think if you're on the other side of it, trying to figure out about recovery or thinking about recovery, but still active, like seeing like, because I think, and I certainly can't speak for Oklahoma and their numbers, even though I do kind of know that our highest viewed and interacted with messaging is a slot machine messaging, and it is the highest engagement we have across all of our messaging. So to that, Linda, yeah, that's exactly what it is. But I think on the other side of it, it's like at a conference, where you could have early recovery in the room, or you could have something like that, then it's about being more mindful. And I remember kind of speaking on this topic, and I guess we can talk about Adam's session of like, I remember when he was working on that session, and I had this fear of like, what are you doing? You're putting like gambling and videos and in a room with people in recovery. And I was just kind of like so against it, like, ooh, what are you doing? But after sitting in his session, and this is a very like juxtaposition for me because I'm still more, leaning more to Terra in that messaging. But, and I don't think it really was for me because I was really scared that that was going to trigger me. But it didn't. For some reason, it didn't really hit me. But I was looking at the clinicians in that room, and their minds were blown. Like this was an experience that they have never had. This very interactive, engaging in the video. Like all of them were like, "This is amazing!" Because
Can you say what he did, Christina? He filmed himself.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Let me give you a little bit of context for people listening who aren't seeing my movements or I guess we are because I'm going to put video out for it. But he did, I know. He did I'm tired. Okay, guys, I'm tired.
Yes.
He
Welcome
did
to the
this
Tired Club.
Yes, he did this presentation, which was absolutely amazing, but he had actually filmed himself spiraling in his gambling addiction. And he had like this. And I was talking to him about it over the weekend because he went to the Louisiana conference with me as well. And he said, I kept saying, that's amazing insight. He's like, it wasn't insight, it was ego. I was going to use it at some point. I knew it when I was recording it. But he was able to record kind of the chaos of the brain in gambling. He was recording himself and hyping himself up to go gamble. And I mean, on the way there in the car, and then he got there and he was like, look, I'm already lost this. And like just taking you through that mental chaos of what it's like for somebody who is struggling with gambling and kind of the high, the low, the high, the low. And it was just absolutely fascinating. But if I was in early recovery, that would have been very, very hard to set through. But it gave those clinicians an insight that they really haven't been able to experience. So I told Adam, I'm like, you know what? Go with your gut. Like, no, I know I was a naysayer here, and like I just aged myself naysayer. I was a naysayer here about it, but I was so resistant to it. And it provided an insight to clinicians that they just haven't seen. At least that's my thought. Happy to hear any kind of other thoughts that might go against it.
Well,
Kitty,
I was watching Euphoria. Have y'all ever seen Euphoria?
I've
It
heard
is
it's good.
salacious. It's high school kids when it first started, and they get in some addictive harm for sure. That's quite serious and really intersectional too. Kids that should be protected and given opportunities are just thrown out into the wild to fend for themselves. And so there was some criticism. I saw a show that was just kind of a recap of what they've done the last 3 years. And there was criticism that the producers of Euphoria were glorifying and glamorizing substance use for high school students. And I can't remember which one of the actors, but very appropriately said, were we watching the same show? Because they weren't glorifying at all. It was awful. The overdoses, the houselessness, the being physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, like lots of bad things happened to these poor children. And I thought what Adam did was masterful in that it was so authentically captured that it really showed the grit. And we've always, Christina, remember years ago, we used to talk about we're glad to be public about our experience, but don't call us brave because we just find that kind of condescending and patronizing. You're so brave to talk about your problems out there. Like there's lots of things we do that are brave, but we don't want to have to be told that when we discuss a neuroelectrical brain thing that happened to us, that we're brave to discuss it. That's again othering us. And to have him do it in a way that he's like in his robe at a weird angle, like it was not at all the kind of retouched, like, right before you go on camera. There was none of that. It was raw. And we don't get to see a lot of that authenticity in this work. We get to hear the stories, but to really see it. And so I think it's good that we have some variety of people that are showing stuff that's hard to see with appropriate warnings, and other researchers that are keeping it pretty dry but bring in the empirical studies. Like we're having a lot of representation, and as long as we can be respectful and honor what each person is doing or making recommendations on what they could be doing differently and for why, I think we're doing pretty good. I did not feel that entirely, and it could have been the tiredness, but it felt like there was a little bit of like something going on behind the scenes there. Did anyone else have that? Was that just me? Like a little lack of kind of trust in the system or something? Is that just me?
I was hearing that in every conversation that was away from the conference. I went with the group to, and I don't even know how to tell you what it was. It was held at the museum, and it was on the last day that it was a group of about 30 people. And I can't even tell you, it was a bunch of letters, and I just was invited because I was part of the group.
I love that.
There
It was a
was
bunch of letters.
There was a bunch of, like everything that was there. It was a lot of letters.
A lot of letters behind everybody's name.
NCPG, and then a yeah. It's a lot of letters.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion about the kind of what's happening behind the scenes, and that they really wanted to hear more representation from, now I'm dropping the name, who has just recently dropped a lot of money toward NCPG, that they wanted to hear their explanations. They wanted to hear in just plain explanations why they wanted to be part of NCPG and what their intention was. That they didn't
fair.
like that wasn't addressed, that it was Kalshi, there it is. They didn't like that it just wasn't addressed, that it was something that was a huge undercurrent and nobody was addressing it formally.
It was said without being said. Like it's been a rough, rough couple of weeks. Like it was referenced without ever naming the actual elephant, for sure.
Yeah.
Kitty, I'm not sure that I fully understood the question you were asking though. Like,
Yeah.
is that what you were inferring? Like there was a disconnect?
Like the disconnect?
Um, I was asking if you noticed that as much authenticity as there was also a little bit with some groups or some presentations, some like a wall that was up of y'all only get to know or hear this much. So I would find that with the NCPG staff, though they were lovely and did lots to make us feel welcome, just for an example, like I'm incredibly interested in the CFTC, in prediction market legislation. I had an opportunity to walk alongside the person that handles the legislative issues that's on staff on a very complicated, winding path to get to an event. And it was really clear that he wasn't interested in engaging with me to talk about the kind of stuff I would want to talk about that has to do with that. And I can say, because I've done the work, it's the end of a long day. This is our party time. Business is done. We're supposed to go socialize. I don't have the opportunity to talk with people like that that can affect change. And this is going to be something that causes an epidemic that's going to, like, in my mind, be the end of society, is how bad Kalshi is going to affect people. Like, I just think it's going to be absolutely catastrophic. So if there's someone who's at the helm of being able to do the work, I don't want to come at them like, you know what you need to do is this and that and, make myself unwelcome. I want to be relational. But I really felt that there wasn't an interest in being relational, that there wasn't disclosure by the board. There was a lot of, we have NDAs and can't talk about anything, but we're glad to listen. And I just appreciate like two-way communication. I got to know Heather more, but I got to know about her life personally. I did not have an opportunity to tell her I can represent some thoughts people with lived experience have. Would you like to hear those? So there was some disconnects, and I just wondered if you all noticed those too.
Oh yeah.
I did. And that, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Christina.
No, you go ahead. You were going to jump in. I just want to be like, I think everybody felt that.
The way I noticed it, and this is like, it's just corporate boardroom speak, frankly. Like there was a lot of talking around it. Like, oh, we're going to introduce a new strategic plan.
When?
Yeah. Well, and we got a little bit of a over the next few months, right? And we're going to work to involve you who, like Cindy Lou Who. But I mean, I was wanting a bit more direct statement. Like we know our decision to do this has created frustration for multiple reasons. We put a statement out. We're willing to have sit downs, and I know because my senator wrote a letter because my state banned prediction markets and our DOJ sued us the very next day. And the senator from the state of Minnesota wrote a very strongly worded email to the National Council as well as our state council, which can put our relationship with our local Senate represented, one of our local senators at risk, and we may get public pressure to disengage. And so now our board is asking new and different questions. Our board is asking, well, what does this affiliation do for your state alliance? What does this alliance mean for you? How are you reaping rewards of being allied with this organization? And I don't think those questions were previously asked.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of AI statements on LinkedIn explaining that, or things read. I didn't hear a lot of robust dialogue around it across.
Nor did I.
Different
yeah,
platforms.
Just kind of this insinuation, we're gonna listen.
Yeah.
And I hope to, like you said earlier, like let's assume positive intent. We are like, I believe the mission statement as it's read right now. And if you're going to change the mission, tell the members.
Absolutely. And I think what I love about this conversation, and maybe to the people listening will be like, what? Because they like
Not our
this,
typical,
but
not
I
our
love
typical podcast.
this isn't our typical conversation, not our typical podcast. But what I love about this conversation is that you guys get a little bit of an ear to what we do outside of just our support group normal stuff, meetings and things like that, what we do on kind of trying our best to be advocates for the space and going to these conferences, learning about it, but also having a say when it feels off. You know what I mean? Like, because those conversations are what help us recognize where improvements need to be made and how maybe we can jump in and support that. Tara, do you have
I
another thought?
actually think it's worth highlighting as part of Broke Girl Society what each of us is or has been doing outside of support groups, to give context for why any of us were even at this conference, because there is so much that we can do to be involved beyond a meeting, to affect change. And if you're feeling called to like do something bigger, we need more women. We need way more women in those rooms. And if you're willing or able, I think any one of us would share our experiences with you about what it's been like to get involved beyond service in a meeting format, because we all do that too. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I should have started with that. I should have started this conversation with something
perfect.
like that.
Don't you be mean to our girl.
Yeah.
Let me read the mission. It's to lead awareness and advocacy efforts to reduce gambling-related harm. So that said, did you have a sense of leading advocacy efforts to minimize harm? I don't know that that's how I would describe what I saw this week.
I certainly don't feel like that was the focus, but I'm still just so kind of, I think I'm still taking the stance of like, I'm watching. I'm looking to see all of this movement, all of this stuff that's happening, kind of seeing, it's like, watching the chessboard, seeing how movements are being set up. I still, call me, I don't know, like I can't think of the term because I'm so tired from all the travel, but yeah,
wishy-washy.
I wasn't going for either of those.
I don't know. I was just making stuff up.
Just naive, not naive either, but something around that of like, I just believe that there are people out there who want the best for NCPG, want the best for everybody working in this field, that believe in this field. And so I'm just kind of over here on the hope boat, hoping that change is happening. And
you're not just
nobody
that,
can tell
Christina,
us
though. You lift other women up. That's your whole shtick. And it's been our experience, whether that's the lived experience folks in life and our families, that change that's good and positive happens with support and trust and love. And we got you, and unconditional. And we got to do that with some of our folks of like, we don't shoot our wounded. We are here for you. Regardless, we can expect addictions to shift and come back, and we still got you, or you can leave this group and go do other work, and we're still here for you. And I want to see that happen at the National Council on Problem Gambling, that instead of attacking our new executive leader, we go, what do you need? Can we help you? Or can we just show you compassion that you've got a lot coming at you? Because she really has a lot to manage, and it's going to be hard to be successful if she doesn't have support from a lot of people. And I think she has it from this group of women. We will always have other women's back that are trying to mitigate gambling harm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt there was authenticity there. She's newer in this position, and compassion looks like curiosity. And she named that, that she'd like to see curiosity. I don't remember in which way I was hearing her speak that came up. But that curiosity of like, okay, what do you need in order to understand maybe why this one topic is upsetting, or what you can do to center voices of people who've been affected. If the mission is to lead awareness and advocacy and reduce harm, how can we help you lead the awareness and advocacy efforts and do so while, honoring this neutrality stance that you take in an emerging market that's claiming it's not gambling. It's a weird space for anyone to be in. Really weird space for anyone to be in.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Kitty. Like, that's where, like, yeah, we gotta have her back.
Well,
And
there we got you.
assume, yeah, and assume that she's gonna listen to the constituents and the stakeholders, of which she has, probably a dozen different groups of audiences that want her ear right now.
Oof. I don't think I could step into those shoes. So, yeah, any support that we can give. It is. And I love the curiosity piece, right? That's one of my favorite words. And I think anybody who has curiosity, is good in my book. All right.
Convicted in how I feel about call sheet, but that's separate.
Sure. I'm certainly not curious about Kalshi and what's going to happen
they
with them.
want.
Yeah. I don't have any curiosity for them, but okay, well, let's go ahead and kind of wrap this up because we know Kitty's going to be like, good meeting starts on time and ends on time.
Okay,
Ladies.
but we were going to round robin what we do.
Oh, that's true. All right.
Well, I was going to I was thinking you were going to talk about a little bit about your resume here. So you're on the board of,
yeah.
Why were you at the conference? Like, you were wearing 10 hats at the conference. You were Christina Broke Girls Society. You were Christina, a representative of.
So Christina, I'm the secretary of the IPGGC, which is the International Problem Gambling and Gaming Certification Board. We certify a lot of the counselors and therapists in the space for gambling harm. I was able to help create the International Gambling Recovery Specialist certification, which is for peer. So I was working that table. I also am the business manager for eVive. So I was helping with that table. I also work as a peer for the Oklahoma Council on Problem Gambling and Gaming. So yeah, that. So yes, I just hate talking about myself.
I know, but I mean, it's
yes.
I'm trying to show your audience the magnitude of potential for impact in this space.
Yeah, there's so much. And I mean, and to meet another fellow lady in recovery who wrote a book, Paige. She's going to talk about that in the Broke Girl Society. And
heck yeah.
I'm so excited about that. And I got an actual signed copy of the book. It's on my shelf somewhere. I think it's right there. Because I already got to read it. I got an early copy. So fantastic story. So yeah, that's me. Somebody else, please.
Oh my goodness.
Kitty.
Yeah, I'll sing my praises all day long. I mean, what I really care about is trying to get some regulations in place to have some guardrails to mitigate harm. And I'm really concerned how much that isn't happening. So I'd recommend y'all hop on your Netflix. They just dropped last night a half hour, I think it's called like a micro documentary or something like that. If you just type prediction market, it's like 35 minutes. And they have the CEOs of Kalshi and Polymarket. They have the CFTC, the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission, which is one person. So that's not plural. So I don't know why it's called that. But Michael Selig. And it's nice to see those men speaking to the camera, because I'm not sure after watching that you would call any of them, like just the words that come to mind wouldn't be like righteous or virtuous or well-intentioned. All of the people seem to read as really opportunistic, and you just kind of have that like I need a shower vibe after viewing that. So I want to prevent as much harm as possible. And I was trying to get Christina to say, what she's always just consistently, her theme song is, I want to support women to have a place to go where they have what they need in a community. She's created that. And now she's created a little bit of backup too of some, mods. I think we all are, to kind of try to help her not have to do so much technical and administrative, still a lot. So that's where my passion is, to pay the bills, and also something I really enjoy. I teach what I call synchronous training for peers. So there's a lot of online tools where you can like watch a movie and answer a quiz and learn at home. And that's really helpful if you need to do it in that format. I believe that peer skills need practiced in an environment with other peers. And so that's what we're trying to build. My partner, Brian Ward, and I, business partner, is to be able to have that it's available to folks in lots of different trainings of like peers for peers, that's by peers and for peers, and that we can customize it to helping people practice their skills. And it's one thing that like we're encouraging folks in Broke Girl Society, like if you feel passionate about this stuff and you want to speak, we need a speakers bureau. Remember that the internet never forgets, like know what you're getting into, because it creates both a layer of like accountability of putting yourself out there, but you're probably not going to be able to be a bank president after you do some of this. There, go on a
Good
Bumble
point.
date. They will find you and they'll be like, yeah, I saw you talking about your gambling addiction. When's our first date? It's like, oh my goodness. So, training people on how to share their story in a way that's only helpful and not hurtful.
And you do that through what organization? I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Voices of Problem Gambling Recovery. I'm the executive
She
director.
never said it. She didn't say that she was the executive director.
Oh, she didn't.
Okay.
Oh, I say it immediately. Did I tell you I gave a TED Talk?
So you also gave a TED Talk?
So long.
It
was just a little TED Talk. It wasn't filmed. But it's nice to be able to feel good and shored up about what you're doing. And that's what I was noticing about baby Linda, is last year you were still kind of new, but now you got a posse that's got your back, and you don't have to be scared of nothing. You can be seen and branch out and go to different things and know that you are not alone there. And that's really empowering, isn't it, baby Linda?
It's huge, absolutely huge. Yeah. Gosh, I don't even know how to put into words my thought on that, because I've told Terra this before. When I was struggling, like a year before I came into recovery, and I had sat in a parking lot, and I know Christina knows this, and Googled women compulsive gamblers. And the podcast came up with Terra and Christina and Brian Hatch. Wow. When I get emotional about this, it's because your voices were with me in a really dark time, because you started this, because you started the Broke Girl Society. I can't even tell you what a privilege it is for me to sit at this table with you women. It's beyond what I would have ever dreamed. The fact that I'm number one in recovery and that I'm sitting with you guys, that I just feel is so beyond my skill set, that I want to, even though I'm older than absolutely every one of you, I want to grow up to be you. To have your skills. And I want to just talk a little bit about the ripple effect that has happened in my life because Christina started the Broke Girl Society. We talked about this a little bit last year. The way I even got to, the conference last year was because Christina had encouraged me to contact somebody about maybe sending me. And that was the Kansas Task Force on Problem Gambling, who have now become the Players Health Alliance, which I don't even know what that says.
But now you're heavily involved with it, not heavily, but like you're involved in a part of that task force now, right?
I am involved with them, and that is them who sent me to the conference. What I do with them is I tell my story. that's it. I tell my story, but setting in one of the conference recovery meetings, and I told Christina this, I felt like maybe it was the reason I was at the conference. I'm sitting in a regular recovery meeting and somebody says she's from a state lottery and she was there representing the state lottery. And in the meeting, she said, and I'm saying for the first time, I'm a compulsive gambler.
Mm.
She had absolutely no resources. She knew this was a problem. People had suggested she go to the meeting and in context with her job. And in that meeting, she felt, I don't know, I'm going to say called to say that she was a compulsive gambler and to ask for help. And we were able to sit and visit after the meeting, and I could give her these resources because somebody gave them to me. You guys gave them to me. You guys gave me hope when I had no hope. And I don't want you to ever underestimate these podcasts or your voices early in somebody's life. Last year, Kitty said to me at the conference, the same, be careful what you put out there because the internet never forgets, because I'd been asked to be on a podcast and I thought about it overnight and I thought, that's exactly what I need. I need the internet to never forget because I'm afraid I will. So if I'm not active in this community, I'm afraid I'll start to minimize what gambling did to my life. And it was devastating. So I also want to emphasize, all those podcasts that Christina did, that all of you do. I listen to all of those. And that's why I wanted to do it. I felt like I needed to give back because for every woman who told their story that I identified with, that helped me in the beginning, that promoted my recovery, I needed to give that to the next person that needs it. And there it is right there. It's, women lifting up women. I find great seats in other rooms, but I feel the most at home, the most where I can be my authentic self, where I can deal with the things that I need to deal with in a room full of women who lift me up. And that never fails to happen in the Broke Girl Society. People show up for each other, and that's priceless.
Thank you. Well, I'm so glad you've been able to find a path and I get to see you now quite a bit throughout the year of the different conferences. So
if we go to another one in 4 years, the national conference, I'll be in Chicago next year. I've made that determination. But when we like every year to be like, baby Linda's growing up, like you get to name the next baby. Like you definitely
one of
get
these
to
years,
name the next baby.
Maybe Linda will have a walker and you'll still be
that's a trend we should absolutely start. Like who are we going to pass this down to?
Message us right now. Who's next? Who's coming to Chicago?
Who are we going to let Kitty call a crybaby? And then who are we going to let
Don't need permission. I'll just do it.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, listen, Chicago is going to be expensive. It was already booked years ago, but it'll be the last of the ones that are going to be prohibitive. So if we want to keep creating more baby Lindas, because I like to have a backup in case we break one, let's get some scholarship going, some plan of where it will be the next year for 2028. And let's just freaking take over in force of representing women like us who are doing this, because we really should be seen to let people know that there's hope. That's what we
have
do
our own lanyards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're going to have our own conference one of these days. As soon as I can get the money, we're going to have our own conference where we can have our own lanyards, where we can empower women. And, we're going to do it. I just have to get somebody to give me money. I'm trying, and it's hard to make it to where people don't have to come up with so much money to go to a conference. I want to be able to cover the cost as much as possible so that more women can come together and do that. So we need to wrap this up because people are like, okay, all right, got a nice session, but I want to do this more regularly, kind of check in, talk about topics and things that are happening, the work that we're doing in the space to kind of encourage more women to get involved. And anything we can do to support. Terra, you have an amazing, amazing voice. I don't know how I didn't know this about you because I feel, we've been friends for a very long time and I know so much about you, but I'm just like, I
Now
think I
you
kind
know
of knew
why
you had
I
a voice.
always want to go. Like the couple
Yes.
times we've been together, I'm like, can we go to, is there a karaoke bar we could go to? Now you know why I love to sing. Voice, I just like to do it.
Oh, you're fantastic. There were some
You have a
amazing
great voice.
there were some amazing like karaoke duets. I heard you and was it you and Adam or you and Brian Ward or both?
Me and Adam, I owe Brian Ward a duet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And probably Dave Yeager if I could get him to sing with me too.
yeah.
That'd be
Oh,
the
he's
men.
easy.
My gosh.
Can I just say we have such nice men around us. They really like
My
do.
gosh, can they also sing?
Yeah, they're delightful and amazing and skillful and stuff. But there can be people that just kind of like pay lip service to, I don't know, tolerating women or something. And I really feel like they're accomplices to us, that they will deliberately stop talking so we can, or wait for us to walk with us, or take us to karaoke and do duets and stuff. So I'm really grateful for that group
My
of
favorite
fellows.
part is when they mention hormones to
And
other
we talk
people
about it with
and
them.
we talk about it with them and they're like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get right
Yeah.
into it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, great group of people, great group of ladies. And, just thanks for being there. Thanks for being you. And thanks for all the love and support that you guys give me and everybody else that you come across. You're so loved and appreciated. So, thank you.
See.
Thanks. This weird lighting thing going on.